My name is Marshall Goldberg, and as a member of the Trudy Sundberg Lecture Series Planning Committee, I will be your host this evening. One raison d'etre for this lecture series is to pay tribute to the memory of Trudy Sundberg. And now I'm pleased to introduce one of her 4 children, Jan Whitsitt, who will help us remember Trudy. Jan?
Welcome. It's really exciting to see such a great turnout, and especially to see so many familiar faces. Many of you know Trudy, but for some that don't, you might be wondering, who was Trudy Sundberg, and why in the world is there a lecture series in her honor? I was asked to give you a little introduction about Trudy, but in thinking about who would be in the audience tonight, I quickly realized that by talking about all of you, and how so many of you are connected to Trudy, it reveals the myriad ways that she touched so many lives. If you are sitting here tonight, you likely fall into one or more of the following touched by Trudy categories. Number 1, you were a friend of Trudy's, and she had so many of every age living all over the place. You might be a former student of Trudy's. She had a long career at Oak Harbor High School as a teacher of English, journalism, literature, and was one of the founding teacher for the debate team, and she was the coach, and they won many tournaments at Oak Harbor High School. If you weren't a former student, you might have been a reader of the Whidbey News-Times. Trudy wrote many columns for the Whidbey News-Times over the years. One was called Pen Cove Periscope. I think it was the precursor to sort of the People magazine of years later. Or you might be a member of the League of Women Voters. Trudy was a 3-term president of the League on Whidbey Island and a longtime proud member. Or you might be in the audience and you were a gardener who shared seedlings, plants, and pruning tips with Trudy, and you might notice that the logo for the lecture series is a rose, and she did love her roses, especially the one named Shakespeare. You might be a member of the AAUW, the American Association of University Women, which advances equity for women and girls through advocacy, education, philanthropy, and research. You might be a member of one of Trudy's many book and environmental clubs, or even the monthly think tank discussion group called the Pandorans. You might be an engaged citizen involved with local, national politics and issues which she considered was a prerequisite for living in this country. You might have run for public office and asked Trudy to be your campaign manager, or more likely, you had no intention of running for public office. She targeted you, made you run for public office, and then she became your campaign manager. You might have swam in a lane next to her every morning at 5 a.m., 5 days a week, which she did until she was in her late 80s at the John Vandersite swimming pool in Oak Harbor as a member of the Masters Swim program. The Navy SEALs who trained there at the same time nicknamed her the Shark. Little Trudy, the Shark. You might be a fan of libraries, and you might have read one of the several books that Trudy wrote, including Portrait of an Island, which was the first book based on those interviews with Madeline Pratt. She also wrote a book in her 80s about the first U.S. Marine hero who fought in the Barbary Coast Wars in Africa in the early 1800s. Go figure. Took a lot of research. You might be a former volunteer for the Save Our Kids Crusade, an anti-violence coalition that Trudy founded with a range of support systems for youth. You might be an actor or a musician with the Whidbey Playhouse and performed in one of the plays and one of the musicals that Trudy wrote. And finally, if you are a family member of Trudy's, you are in the smallest touched by Trudy categories. It is a great honor and a special privilege to say that Trudy Sundberg was my mother. She had an unbelievable appetite for life. She was an eternal optimist, and she found the best in every single person she met. And the only thing that's sad about this entire event is that she would have wanted to be part of planning the whole thing and giving the speech to introduce our big speaker, Hedrick Smith. Really am just thrilled that all of you are here. It's a very joyful celebration. Thanks for coming.